Want to know what it's like to live in the safest city in Michigan? Well, in this video, we're going to cover everything from housing to restaurants to some of the statistics in Troy, Michigan. And we're going to do all of that starting right now. So you're thinking about moving to Michigan. Well, welcome to the Living in Detroit channel. And like I said in the introduction, in this video, we want to give you a tour of one of the articles we pulled, Safest Cities in Michigan, Troy, Michigan. We want to run through a little bit about the housing statistics, a little bit about Troy, and all that good stuff. My name is Matt Talbot. My team and I help people just like you every single day move here to Michigan, and we absolutely live for it. So without further ado, we want to dive right into Troy, Michigan. First off, where is Troy, Michigan? Troy, Michigan sits in Oakland County. It's about 50 minutes or so to Detroit Metropolitan Airport, depending on where you're coming from. It's also about 35 minutes to 30 minutes to downtown Detroit as well, too. It sits north of Detroit, like I said, in Oakland County. So you have Detroit, and then right after, which is in Wayne County, right after Wayne County is Oakland County, and you can actually take I-75 right from Detroit right into Troy, Michigan. And if you want, you can continue on. I-75 goes all the way up to the Upper Peninsula, and if you continue down south from Detroit, you can actually go down all the way through the bottom of the state and can take that all the way to Florida. Interesting fact, I-75 goes from Florida to the Upper Peninsula, but it does go right through the center of Detroit and goes right through Troy, Michigan, so that's your easy in and out of Troy. The population of Troy is 87,000 people and is the largest city in Oakland County, which is one of the biggest counties in Michigan. So Oakland County is a huge county by landmass. There's a good amount of people there as well, too, and it is the largest city in Oakland County. I want to pull open this article to make sure I'm quoting this because I don't want this to come just from me, but this is from Troy.gov that they were voted the safest city in the state of Michigan. So I don't know how they got there exactly, but according to their own website, they were voted the safest city in Michigan. There's about 1,000 acres of parks throughout Troy. And to me, Troy sort of has a variety of different options, which is one of the reasons why it's such a sought out area for people both in-state and all of those folks moving from out of town to Michigan, which we get a lot of those calls all the time. A lot of times people are like, Troy, like I've heard a lot of good things. We're going to get into schools in a minute. That's one of the reasons why they're very sought out. But I also think Troy has a lot of different things happening. You have some specific locations and restaurants, which we'll get into in a minute, and destinations that you can go to, but also has a good variety of homes in that general community as well, too. I think an additional benefit of Troy, Michigan is that you can get to downtown Detroit in like 30 minutes or so, and also some of the neighboring cities throughout Oakland County have a lot of things happening. So, you know, you're 15 minutes to Royal Oak, you're 15 minutes to Birmingham, you're 15 minutes to Ferndale, the Woodward Corridor, all that good stuff going on there. You can also head a little bit more north and go over to Rochester. There's even some things happening in Auburn Hills and stuff like that as well, too. So it's sort of a very central area, in my opinion, for that part of Oakland County, which is one of the reasons why it's so sought out because of its location. Up next regarding Troy, Michigan is its education system. One of the calls that we get all the time, one of the questions that we get all the time is, hey, where are the best schools in Michigan? And a lot of time when people do their own research, they reach out and say, hey, we're specifically looking for Troy schools. We did our research and we want Troy schools. Okay, so we get that a lot. Just to give you a rundown of the education at Troy schools, there are 2 preschools, 12 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and of course 2 high schools throughout Troy Public Schools. Also, the student-teacher ratio is 16-1, so there's a good student-teacher ratio. And this is an important article. Again, I want to quote the source here. From U.S. News, they rank Troy schools as number 2 in the state of Michigan. Again, as a real estate agent, we can never like guide you or steer you and say, hey, this school is better than this school or don't go to this district or whatever. But we do get a lot of calls for Troy schools. According to U.S. News, it's ranked number 2 in the state. And in my opinion, depending on where you go with your research, you're going to see Troy schools ranks very high on a consistent basis, which is one of the reasons when people are moving from out of town, they're like, hey, I want to, we're looking in Oakland County, we want Troy schools. We get that call and those questions a lot. So I wanted to give you that rundown specifically on Troy. And an additional reason for this video, right? We want to give you an overview of Troy as a whole so you can understand if that's better for your family if you're moving here to Michigan, because we do get a lot of those calls of a lot of people wanting to move to Troy, Michigan, and schools are one of the biggest reasons why. So when thinking of Troy, Troy, Michigan, we want to give you a rundown of some of the different restaurants that my team put together, as well as some of my personal recommendations in Troy. So along I-75, like I said, which goes right through Troy, you have Big Beaver Road and some other roads, but the majority, like the big strip in Troy, in my opinion, is Big Beaver. So there's a lot of commercial retail space there. There's a lot of, big businesses located there. And because of that, there's a lot of different restaurants as well in that general strip, okay? Troy has a variety of restaurants, some local stuff, some of the bigger chains, across the country as well too. So if you're into some of that stuff, then there's a variety in Troy. And like I said, one of the benefits of Troy, in my opinion, is some of the surrounding communities as well too. So not only do you have to eat what is actually in Detroit city limits, but there's a lot of places to drive to that I think have good eats throughout Metro Detroit, which you have to dive into our other videos for that. Starting with the list that my team put together, Troy Kebab at Livernois and East Long Lake Road, The Gathering Place at 17 Mile Road and John R. Road. One of my personal favorites is Capital Grill, which is actually in the mall, which I'll get into in a minute. Capital Grill, I think, is a chain. They're all over the place, but I think they have pretty good food in there. Kona Grill is another one up the street. That's like your sushi, hibachi type vibe. Grand Traverse Troy is at Maple Road and Coolidge Highway as well, too. So like I said, a variety of restaurants in Troy. There's a lot of stuff happening in that Big Beaver corridor, that kind of area, Big Beaver and 75. A lot of big businesses in there, a lot of things happening. And then moving on our list of things to do, I'll just roll right into that, is Somerset Mall, which is also off Big Beaver Road. More than 180 stores, 7,000 parking spaces, and 2 floors. So Somerset Mall is the biggest mall in Southeast Michigan, hands down. Like, the next biggest is 12 Oaks, but I think it's not even like a true comparison. So a lot of people, like 12 Oaks is a decent mall. They got some stuff there. I'm not trying to rag on 12 Oaks, which is in Novi, Michigan. Somerset is going to be that variety of options. It's the biggest mall. There's actually 2 sides. They're on both sides of Big Beaver. So one side is, the majority of the stuff. The other side, kind of like the fancy side of the mall. That's where you have like your Gucci and all your high-end stuff on that side of the mall. So, but it's a big mall. There's a lot of things happening there. And because of that, I feel like there's a lot of, again, additional like restaurants and stuff in that part of town because it's such a big attraction, right? 7,000 parking spaces. I mean, there's millions of people that go through that mall every year. Around Christmas time, it's absolutely bonkers over there. But there's a reason for it. It's a nice mall. It's the nicest mall in Southeast Michigan, and it sits in Troy. Troy also has Oakland Mall, which is a little bit south of there, 14 Mile and John R., opened in 1968. Has some different events and stuff like that from time to time as well, too. You have Troy Family Aquatic Center, which is an outdoor community pool, offers season passes. And then we also like to always mention golf courses on this channel. I'm a big golfer myself. Sylvan Glen Golf Course opened in 1922. 4 sets of tees we have in here between 5,000 and 7,000 yards. In winter, offers cross-country skiing and sledding. I didn't realize that. But not only do you have Sylvan Glen in Troy, like I said, a benefit of that area is some of the surrounding communities. And I would definitely say if you're a golfer, that would be one of the benefits. There's a lot of private clubs through there. You can head north a little bit and check out a lot of different golf courses. If you go up to Washington Township, which is not terribly far away from Troy, one of my favorite golf courses is the Orchards up there. It's a very difficult golf course. I like that. It's an old-fashioned type golf course. But there's a lot of other ones. Devil's Ridge. I mean, there's countless courses throughout Oakland County, especially once you get in North Oakland County up there, because it's a little bit more rural once you get past Troy. There's a little bit more woods up there. It's a little bit more spread out and stuff like that in different areas in northern Oakland County. And so because of that, there's more and more golf courses, which is sort of near and dear to my heart. I think that's one of the reasons why like Troy is so sought out. People like, Bloomfield, which we talk about in this channel. We talk about Birmingham and stuff like that. But definitely that Troy, Rochester pocket, from my opinion, is a very, very sought out area. And I think one of the reasons is because you sort of get the best of both worlds. You can go to the Woodward Corridor, stuff like I've been talking about. You can hit up Troy, you can go to Detroit, but you still can be, in the country in no time, meaning like golf courses, or a lot of people in Michigan, they want to live in a city like Troy and head up north. So you jump on 75 and you're up north very, very fast compared to other places in Southeast Michigan, because in Michigan here, handy dandy hand, right? You have Southeast Michigan. Troy sits kind of in Oakland County, which is a little bit north of like Wayne County and Detroit and all that stuff. And so because 75 goes all the way north, a lot of times people like to take 75 up north to their, lake houses or their cottages or their Airbnbs and all that type of stuff. And if you are a little bit more south in Wayne County or different parts of Oakland County, it can just be a little bit further commute to like get to 75 to start, sending it up north and stuff like that. So I think one of the reasons why it's so sought out, why there's so many things happening there, is because it sort of sits in this like very beautiful part of town where you can head up north easy. You can still check out everything going on. It's a pretty central location, which is why it's sought out, which is why we're talking about it on this channel. You cannot talk about Troy in our Living in Detroit channel without talking about housing statistics, of course, which is a big reason why you came to this channel. We want to show you the inside of houses, but the big portion of this channel is to show you what it is like to live here in Southeast Michigan. And so, again, this video about Troy, Michigan. This section about Troy, Michigan's housing. So, average price range currently in Troy, Michigan is $450,000, $451,000, median at $415,000. With the average across the state, call it around $350,000. It's a little bit higher than that. I mean, quite a bit higher than that as far as the average. So there's a lot of homes, ranging from really $300,000 upwards of like $1.5 million plus in Troy, depending on where you're at. Average price per square foot is $220 per foot. Average days on market is 20 days, which is actually typically we're seeing like 3 to 4 weeks on market in a lot of different marketplaces that we talk about. So 20 days, they're selling really, really fast. Months of supply, this is the reason why. So months of supply means the amount of months that we have based on the current churn rate in that area. So how fast our homes are selling, how many homes are available, how long would it take to run out? And currently that is 1.3 months of supply in Troy. So that's one of the reasons why you see those days on market so low. Again, like we talk about consistently here in 2024, the demand is much greater than the supply in a lot of different areas, and Troy is no stranger to that. Last but not least, home build types. You have a lot of different colonials, ranch, contemporaries, bungalows, and farmhouses. So Troy, to me, there's a lot of different variety of houses. A lot of the homes, a lot of the bigger subdivisions in Troy were built sort of in the 90s and earlier 2000s and stuff like that. So there continued to be a lot of turnover, and the neighborhoods continue to develop. But although there are new construction options, for the most part, a lot of the homes that you're buying in Troy are not new builds. A lot of times they were built in the 90s or 2000s, and they've been renovated since, and people are like, wow, I'm paying, $1 million or $850,000 for this house that was built, in the 90s that has some updates, but maybe not completely brand new and all that stuff. So that's part of the give take when you're looking at a city like Troy compared to other cities in Oakland County, and when you're going to other cities throughout, Southeast Michigan, it is such a sought out area. The schools are so good. There's so many things happening in that area that because of that, the home prices are obviously a little bit more expensive, and because of just the general age of Troy, that it's been a well-developed city for a very long time, a lot of the bigger houses have really, either 70s, 80s, or really into like 90s and early 2000s, they've really developed that land quite a bit. So there's not a lot of new construction options out there. There's some new build options, there's some tear down options, there's some options in there, but for the most part, your bigger, 3,000-4,000 square foot colonials and stuff like that in Troy, Michigan are going to be a little bit more dated. So we got to kind of look at those case by case and understand what's been done, what needs updating, all that good stuff. So you need to find a good real estate agent that can help you do so and look at all those specifics if you're looking at a city like Troy, without a doubt. So Troy, Michigan, known for some pretty good food. They definitely have an awesome mall. There's a lot of things to do there and fantastic schools, okay? That's one of the reasons why it's so sought out. In the comments below, let us know if you're thinking about Troy or other areas in Southeast Michigan that we can help educate you on the area. If you're thinking about moving to town, let us know ASAP, specifically if you're looking next 3 to 6 months. Those people, it's critical to get in front of a good agent and understand kind of what your options are here in Southeast Michigan. I'm Matt Talbot. My team is the Talbot team. This is the Living in Detroit channel. It's a tongue twister. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Stay tuned for other videos about living in or moving to Michigan.